Oh, this is going to be a good one.
You're listening to Pete the Planner.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, I'm coming to you from a hotel room in Jacksonville. No, that's not a threat. It's reality. Damian Dunn joins me, I assume, from Indiana. We're doing this over the interwebs. Dame, are you in your normal Studio North?
I am in Studio North.
I'm in swampy Jacksonville. You know, I've only been to Jacksonville twice. I'm here now. No one cares. Dame, here's how the show works. People email us their financial questions, and I'll be darned if we're not the best financial question answers in the world. I mean, you are, but I'm the host. You can get a hold of us at askpete@petetheplanner.com. Askpete@petetheplanner.com. Dame, you can get a hold of me by just texting me anytime you want.
Thanks.
All right, Dame, this week we've got a question from a gentleman by the name of Brian. It doesn't say Dear Pete, just gets to it. Please see the subject line is the first line of his email. I've never in my life, Damian, seen that in an email.
Get with the times, Pete. Come on.
Do you do that? Have you done that before?
No, I've never done that before.
All right, so I guess I should read the subject line because that will help give people some context. Subject line, 401k rollover or keep it with my previous employer. Okay, starting the body of the email now, Damon. Here we go. Please see subject. Just lost my job. Oh, man. After 27 years of employment and would like to know what I should do with my 401k retirement. Thanks, Brian. Brian, man, I'm sorry. That stinks.
Yeah, seems like we just said that it seems like this is the season for that.
It is the season. Dame. All right, we have to make some guesses here. 27 years. Let's say he started there when he was 22, just for fun. So he's 49.
Okay.
You want to go with that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's run with that.
He's going to be 47 at the youngest.
Oh yeah, sure. I would agree with that.
Okay. First, let's hope that he's been contributing for 27 years, because if he has, there's a little doubt in my mind he has hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, just the time allowed for compounding, and hopefully there was a nice little employer match there. He could very, very reasonably have a nice sum of money sitting there.
Do you have a general piece of advice when you get this question? You have to get this question all the time, your money line. Do you have a general piece of advice, or are there some depends buttons here?
In general, that's a yeah, because this question is really interesting, because if I were to have my financial advisor hat on, still, scraping to pick up whatever new clients I can, the answer it kind of gets weighted in one direction, doesn't it? That it turns into a rollover, because then I get paid for it, at least under most traditional compensation models. However,
I think we need to spend some time on that. And maybe what we do is we do that in the second segment. So let's park the idea of what a rollover means to a financial advisor and continue to answer this question. All right. So keep going.
So there are some reasons to potentially leave it inside of a 401k with your previous employer. First, if you've got good investments there and you don't know what else to do with it in the time being, don't worry about it. You know where it's at, it's invested. Okay. Worry about some other stuff at this point. So if you're comfortable with where it's at, this is something that can be dealt with later.
I have a kind of a weird rule of thumb here, which I guess we don't say that anymore, do we? We're rule of Peter. Here's my rule of Peter with this. If you work for a giant company, and by the way, I'm looking at this person's email address. They did work for a giant company. You know what I'm going to try to do, Dame? I'm going to see who their 401k provider is. Now, this is some next level stuff here. There's actually a rating by Brightscope for this place.
Sure.
Do you know about this?
I stumbled onto it. Oh gosh, it was a while ago, but I totally forgot about that.
All right. I cannot tell you clearly where this person works. I don't feel like that's appropriate, but I'm going to do my best I can to tell you about the plan, because this is interesting. Okay. It has a rating of 79 on this Bright Scope rating, meaning it's pretty good. It's in the green there.
Okay.
The average balance for someone at this organization is $110,000. That's pretty good, right? Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, it depends on what the makeup of their workforce is.
That's
But
true.
yeah, sure.
It's sort of weird for me to say it's good for no other reason. I can't tell who the provider is. Can you tell? Have you looked?
I haven't looked it up, no. I was relying on you, Pete.
I know I blew it. I just did this on the fly and now it fell apart. Anyway, but you know what? This is a good tip. If you work for a pretty good sized employer, go to brightscope.com, go to their 401k ratings and see how your employer's 401k stacks up. How about that, Dame?
Yeah, that's actionable advice. Nice job, Pete.
Okay, here's the thing. Generally speaking, my rule of Peter is if you work for a big company, that generally means you have pretty low investment fees. Like the fees that cost you to invest in these sorts of things, they're low because your company is buying in bulk. That is to say, if you kind of know what you're doing or you know what you're doing, then you can continue to invest at a pretty inexpensive click. However, if you work for a smaller company, I mean, even like ours, Dame, we've got a pretty small plan because we don't have a ton of people in our organization. I hate to tell you, but previous to a switch we were making at the beginning of the year, our 401k fees are really high.
You think I didn't notice that?
I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up. Good thing I brought it up on the air. They're high. And so if you were ever to leave, of course you would roll it over because you don't want to have to pay those crazy fees that exist because we have such a small plan.
Yeah, fees are essentially the number one concern. If you are considering rolling it over for no other reason than to make sure you're getting the best deal possible, even if you're happy with the investments and the fees are outrageous, you can buy those same investments somewhere else and just get them for cheaper. So yeah, pay attention to what you're paying in fees and make the determination from there.
And I know we're going to talk about this after the break, but when I was a financial advisor and someone asked me that question, I would have answered it, well, generally, yes. Probably, if I'm being honest, right? Sometimes it would have made sense if they had super low fees and I couldn't beat them, I'd be like, no, I can't help you there. But I would say generally, yes. But now that I have no vested interest, the answer is I'd probably leave it alone.
Yeah, if there's no outstanding reason to move it, then you may have some time to make some decisions. And plus, having it in a 401k, if you are of a certain age or older when you, I believe they call it separate from service, you have some advantages there too that could potentially help you to access your money if you absolutely have to, or if you've done a fantastic job of saving and you're allowed or you can retire at a certain time, say 55 or older. 401k could potentially give you that nice bridge and access to your wealth before you get into the prime retirement years, I guess, Social Security age years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I keep wanting to jump right to our discussion that we're going to have in the next segment about an advisor's view on this. So, I mean, fiduciary things are all coming up in my mind. But let's stick to the facts. There is one major advantage of rolling a 401k over. And I think that's that you can theoretically stay more organized because you can not have a bunch of old 401ks floating around. You could all conceivably roll them into one IRA, one traditional IRA. And that way it's just easier to manage because there's less paper. Do you buy that?
Oh, yeah. I know people out there are thinking there's no way people ever forget about 401ks.
Oh, God, yes, they do.
It happens all the time.
All right, we got to take a break. We got to take a break. Come back. We're going to talk about this question from a financial advisor's perspective. What will they say and how is that different? That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Dane, we got a question in the first segment, which would have been the last segment. It was just a guy who's like, hey, I just lost my job after 27 years of employment. Again, we're sorry, my friend. Hope you're still listening. What should I do? Should I roll it over or leave it alone? And we answered it as financial problem solvers would. People who say, this is what you need to consider. Now, Dame, if you ask a financial advisor, an investment advisor, this question, 95% of the time, whether they're commission-based or fee-based, they're going to say, yes, absolutely, I can help you with that. And my question to you, my friend, because you used to do this and I used to do this, my question to you is, how is that operating under fiduciary principles if you're investing someone's money at a higher fee than if they just left it alone within their old 401k? Explain that to me. Change my mind, Dame.
There's a few different things that you could potentially argue on behalf of the advisor and paying that fee. The first would be having the advisor's oversight or guidance on that account, so preventing you from making a decision that you will regret in the future. Arguably, you could say that you could engage that advisor and get his or her advice on what you should do with that account, even if it was still held in your former employer's 401k. But you would still have access to it, and you could still make those decisions on your own without their knowledge or their consent. I mean, it's your money. I understand that, but one of the biggest values, and we've talked about it before, of working with an advisor is preventing you from making mistakes that you will regret later. So one of the biggest reasons is you pay maybe a little bit more, but you will make more in the long run because I will keep you on the straight and narrow. Do you buy that?
So, I mean, that's a reasonable argument. By the way, I'm not dumping on financial advisors because I don't want my phone to blow up from all my friends that are going to yell at me. But you have to ask that question. So, I mean, Dame, if we're saying, hey, we get to pick a compensation model, then what I would say is, oh, by the way, you're the person that has the 401k, okay? And I'm the advisor. If things were how I'd like them to be, not as the advisor, but the person choosing comp models, what I would say to you is, all right, let me choose your allocation for you. You can pay me on an hourly basis to do so. It's $250 an hour. I allocated it this year. It took me an hour. It's $250. I'll see you next year and we'll refigure it. That seems fair to me. My advisor friends are going to kill me. That seems fair to me, though.
Some advisors will come back with, okay, what happens 6 months down the road and things need to be rebalanced. It's not maybe just a set it and forget it on an annual basis. Now, it could very well be, and I think for a lot of people that might make sense, is just let's look at it every 12 months and make sure that it's doing exactly what we thought it was, or maybe there are some new funds available inside of the 401k that we could leverage or get some access to that may be closed outside of that 401k. I think it would still benefit the person to get some professional opinion on this, but like we're talking about, how do you want to pay for it, and how much advice or ongoing assistance do you want from that planner?
Okay, and I feel like now all my beefs are going to get let loose here. I hope you're ready for some email. Here's the thing. Every professional investment advisor has an asset mix, an allocation that they use, right, for different types of clients.
Sure.
And I'll get to the custom portfolios here in a second as I roll my eyes. I knew this was going to happen today. I've had a weird day, my friend. It's a weird day. And so, like, if they have style boxes and they've got, different asset classes they use, whether they're using your investments or their own, just to rebalance, it could take 30 to 45 minutes at the most if they're focused on that, right? Because if you're within the 401k, theoretically, you've only got 25 options at the most anyway. So you've got your restrictions there, and it's with how software works, it doesn't take that long to do the research, and you can go ahead and throw half of those 401k options out the door because they're not going to make sense for most people. I like the environment where you don't roll it over and you just pay the person hourly to manage it. Man, we're going to get killed.
Yeah. What do you think the likelihood is of you finding an advisor just to work for $250 to rebalance your 401k for you once a year?
I don't know. Probably zero. But doesn't that make sense?
Just because it makes sense, Pete, doesn't mean that it actually works in practice.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'll just tell you this. We built your money line to do the problem solving version of that. This is not a commercial for us because we at this point deal with employers only and then deal with employees of the employers. But we said, look, why do we have to have all these giant planning fees when we can just answer questions as they come in and not make it about these giant planning fees? And it's worked pretty darn well.
yeah, I think we've seen plenty of feedback that says so grateful for this service, and well, let's not hurt ourselves patting ourselves on the back, but
Feel free.
I like our model. I like how we do it. I like that there's just a expectation of providing the best answer for the person that contacts us, and there's nothing but that.
Since I'm airing my grievances, can I go ahead and get a few other ones out of the way?
Might as well.
The whole custom portfolio, your custom investment portfolio. Why? Who cares? Why do you need a custom Well, okay, so my neighbor Brian, good friend of mine, right? We're about the same age. He's a year older, which I like to point out, but our lives are pretty similar. His financial investment in portfolio needs are exactly the same as mine. So, if we went to an advisor and they were like, "Well, Brian's got his custom mix and you've got yours," why? For what reason? It's dumb. This isn't Burger King. It's not have it your way. Just give me the good one.
Now, do you think Brian's needs are the same if his risk tolerance is completely different than yours?
That's not dude. Here's the thing. You know very well that beyond risk tolerance and beyond time horizon, the whole custom thing is silly. Like we have the same time horizon. I may have a slightly higher risk tolerance than him just because I've been in the industry. And so that would be the tweak. But most people our age are going to be moderate to aggressive investors, and they're going to have the same time horizon, so they would need the same portfolio. Changed my mind.
I don't think I can. I think most people our age are going to be somewhere around a 60-40, 70-30, plus or minus 10% either way. And here's the thing about advisors, and I might as well add to your inbox on this one.
Yes. Feel the hate flow. No, I love advisors. We work on them all the time. I have beefs with the industry.
You know as well as I do that there are thousands and thousands of potential investment options for people and their portfolios.
Yes.
You get comfortable with 20, 30, maybe 40 that you can keep track of and you're comfortable with. You know the managers, you know the track record, you know their style, you know what they're going to do in different types of environments. And once you're comfortable with those, you're pretty much sticking with those. So it may be
I have no problem with that, by the way.
Yeah, but it may be a custom portfolio, but everybody's using the same ingredients, just in different proportions.
I remember when I was doing this for a living and I'd have a mid-cap solution. And then occasionally a wholesaler would call and say, "Hey, we look at our mid-cap solution." And I would say, "Okay, I'll take a look." And I'd kick the tires. I'm like, "No, I'm going to stick with the one I want." Or they'd come and say, "Oh, I've got a cool, small cap fund." I'd look and I'm like, "All right, I'm going to switch that out." But I wasn't running, I know some advisors do, but I wasn't running screeners on 1,000 small cap funds. I like every 3 months or something. I know some people do that. It just seems like overkill. It seems like you just are constantly flipping the steak over.
I still know advisors that buy only stocks and individual bonds for their portfolios.
I do too. I don't get that either. But again, I never fancied myself when I was an advisor as like, "Guys, I'm so smart. I'm going to smart your portfolio up." Like mine was just like, "Hey, let's not make mistakes. Let's not overcomplicate this, and let's just buy and hold." That being said, it's time for a break. Coming up, Dame, I want to talk to you about the importance of hiring a good advisor, whether it be financial or otherwise. You'll see what I mean next on the Pete the Planner Show. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, the Jacksonville hotel room edition of the show. Dame, I'm at the
Holiday Inn and Suites?
No, I'm at the Hyatt Regency Jacksonville. I'm speaking at a conference tomorrow. I just did my sound check, and then I came up to my hotel room and started chatting with you on my computer.
Do you have a water view?
I do, but I think it's of some river. Is it St. John's River or something like that?
I have no idea.
All right, Dame, here's the topic for this segment. I just sold my house.
Woo.
All right, a rental property, my rental property, the only rental property I have. I was just sort of done with it. The whole point was to have it increase in value and then use that equity to fund the kids' college education, right? Some of
Sure.
the funding for their education. We just got to this point where I'm just getting busier and busier and busier, and I just don't want to mess with it. I don't want to deal with renters. I don't do anything. So we sold it. And we got a chunk of money that we're just splitting into, putting into the kids' accounts. Okay, that's end of story. But through this process, it occurred to me, I was like, all right, I got to hire a realtor to do this because, again, I'm not going to for sale by owner and deal with all that crap. So I went to a guy who sells a lot of homes in my neighborhood, who I've known for a long time. And I was like, man, listen, I just need you to do this. I will do whatever you tell me to do. I just want it done. I trust you. Do whatever it takes to get it sold. I will not harass you or bother you at all. That was our talk in his office. And it took about 35 seconds.
And his eyes got wide and he said, yes.
Yes. No, but the point is, I trust him. I know him. And it doesn't hurt that if someone messes up, that there's the, yeah, I can kind of probably make it a problem. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't. That's the thing. I never would do it. I wouldn't get on Twitter and be like, this person stinks. Or I wouldn't get on the radio and say, this person stinks. But I'll say the idea that could happen probably helps me. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you've got a little leverage that you could exercise if you wanted to, but you've got a great track record of not airing your grievances on Twitter or the radio.
In fact, I won't even get mad at my airline on Twitter. I just contact them directly. I'm just a very don't air your beef sort of guy. So anyway, here's my point. It's been a wonderful process because I let this professional do the job and I didn't get in the way with my amateur stupid ideas on how to sell a rental property, right? And I think so often we get in our own, I'm not the hero of the story because I will ruin it here in a second. We get in our own ways when we deal with service people, when in fact, what we should constantly do is find a really good person, grow that relationship of trust with them, and then just do exactly what they say. And I think you'll come out on top. What do you think?
First of all, I agree with you, but I'm going to try and argue.
Good. It'll make for, a good conversation.
Do you think that you got the best price you could have by doing everything they said?
You know what? I'm going to blow your mind and probably lose a listener or two. I don't care. It wasn't worth it to me to squeeze another penny or $1,000 here or there out of it because because of the risk associated with pushing further. We got an offer, a cash offer from an investor. And my guy said, you could counter, but if you counter, he could walk away because it's a numbers decision for him because he's an investor. Right. This is what he does. And so I thought, it was below the asking price, of course. And I was like, you know what? It's been on the market for 3 months. I don't care. Let's go. Then it came back in the inspection report. And there was some stuff wrong. And he was like, well, here's what you can do. You can have all this stuff fixed. I can give you my vendors, or you can just make him a cash offer to say, you know what, here's some money. You can fix it. Here's the range. I picked a number in the middle. I said, offer him that. And he's like, done. Perfect. And it's over. So Dame, to answer your question, I left money on the table. Is that a place of privilege? I don't know. But I trusted him enough to make sure that I wasn't doing something stupid. And I don't think he let me do something stupid.
Okay. So
beat me up. If you have to, beat me up. I don't mind.
So not everybody has, not everybody has the privilege of time and relationship building that you've had in this experience.
That's fair. But I guess my action here as we get through it is to get there, to do it, to do it now, build those relationships now.
I totally agree. Sometimes we don't have that luxury though. And so how do you think this process looks different? Let's say you move across the country to a new city and something goes sideways and you're at the mercy of a plumber that you have no experience with. I mean, what do you do at that point?
That's why I will never move, because I have a good plumber.
Well, that's hard to argue against that.
But I'm kind of half joking. People always ask me, "Are you ever going to move?" I'm like, no. And I say this respectfully. I've got this place wired. I know who to call for anything. I literally can call anyone to get something done. It's like, I love that. That's why I don't want to have to go find all these new relationships. But to answer your question, yeah, that would be horrifying. Awful.
And giving somebody that control in that situation, you're at the mercy of that person. If you're not actively either shopping the service or asking questions, if you're just saying, take care of me, oh boy, you are incredibly vulnerable in that situation.
But see, I'm willing to pay for a premium experience with someone I trust, because I'm not trying to nickel and dime them. Like, I think sometimes people go so cheap. It's like, I'm a frequent traveler for work. And so sometimes people are like, well, I'm getting 2 layovers and I'm not going to check any bags. And then they end up paying more because they try to nickel and dime, and then they don't value their time, and they have a 9-hour layover in Des Moines. And I'm just like, I get it. I know, understand. It sounds like I'm coming from a place of privilege here, but I think sometimes when you try to nickel and dime a service person or a product, you end up with a giant headache, a lot of wasted time, and you don't even save that much money.
Yeah, I guess I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think there is.
Is this like basically? Am I going to be like, hey, Pete's got rich guy problems? Is that what we're going to hear here?
I think that's what it's coming to. You may want to delete Twitter off your phone for a while.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that criticism, and I'm not saying I'm a rich guy. I'm saying I've invested in relationships of people I can trust, and I don't think that's a rich guy thing. I think that's a smart thing.
I think everyone listening can agree that having relationships with people that you rely on in uncomfortable situations or unfortunate situations works out to your benefit in the long run. A, because they're going to take care of you. B, because you don't have to worry about it because you trust the person that's taking care of you. And it's an inconvenience, and yes, it might have some horrible ramifications for you financially for a little while, if depending on the situation. But not everybody has that luxury, and I'm just curious as to how the situation changes if you don't have those. I mean, do you just
it's a nightmare,
willy-nilly hand over the keys and say, go for it? Willy-nilly. I think that's going to be in Joe Biden's next bus. Malarkey and willy-nilly. So yeah, I agree with you. It's great, but if you don't have it, man, the calculus changes.
I've always sort of felt this way, but I hadn't achieved the places in these relationships where I could fully turn over the keys, so to speak. I remember when I used to buy a car, I would like go find the best deal. And I found a guy that I really like. You used to be on the show, Jeff the Car Guy, for those who are long time listeners. And I'd just tell him what I wanted, and he'd find it, and it'd be done. And it was like, I didn't really haggle over the fact that whether it was higher or lower than it should have been, because it didn't matter to me. Am I going to get killed?
Yeah, today's not been a good day for you.
I feel like I'm going to get lit up, but I'm just being honest. Oh man, I think now I'm really going to get killed. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about our plumber. That's how I feel about our HVAC guy. I still mow my grass though. Hashtag grounded. I don't know. This isn't going to go well, Dame.
Yeah. Well, nice job.
All right. Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week. It might just be my whole attitude with money. We'll see. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. Save your emails. This week's biggest waste of money of the week here on the Jacksonville hotel room edition of the show is, Dame, we've got a user submission for biggest waste of money of the week, and I'm going with it. It's brilliant. It's from Mike. That's the AirPods carrying strap. Did you see this going around the internet the other day?
Yeah.
Never lose sight of a single AirPod again with this handy woven strap you can wear around your neck and keep both buds secure. So as most people know, earbuds, AirPods, no one knows, are very fancy headphone from Apple, and they're loose. They look like golf tees. You just put them in your ears, and you look like a jerk and talk to people and listen to music. Right? Is that how it works? Is that how they sell them, Dave?
I think they leave the jerk part out, but yeah, they are everything else you've stated.
So what this is basically looks like a shoelace, like a leather shoelace with gold tips, and you connect them to the end of your golf tees, and it's basically a strap, but it's $60. So the whole point of AirPods was to get rid of all the wires, and this is an adding a wire back and then charging $60.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a great use of money, does it?
I do have to say something though. I did see a guy coming down the elevator at the airport a couple of weeks ago at like 1 a.m. getting off a plane. His AirPod, or the escalator, coming off the escalator, his AirPod falls out of his ear, gets caught in the teeth of the escalator as it disappears the stair, and it crushed the heck out of the AirPod. And if he would have had this $60 strap, he'd be all right. Dame, did you see my tweet today, I guess it was, about the impact of AirPods on the economy?
No, I did not.
You did? It was actually interesting. It was my tweet given I retweeted someone else. So here's what we got. This is fascinating to me. In 2016, Apple launched the AirPod, golf tees for your ears.
Right.
2017, they sold 16 million of them. Okay.
16 million pairs. Okay.
Yeah. 2018, which by my math is last year, they sold 35 million. Okay. So a little more than doubled sales number of units. 2019, this year, they have sold around 60 million. And in 2020, they're projected to sell over 100 million AirPods in the year 2020. So 100 million AirPods, on average, based on the models, are $200 a pair. That's $20 billion, right? At a 35% net profit equals $7 billion in profit. And if you factor in their price earnings ratio, which is an investing metric of a 25 on the PE ratio, that equals $175 billion valuation. So what they're saying is, if AirPods was its own company, it would be worth $175 billion, because that's how they figure out what a company's worth. $175 billion would be the value of AirPods Inc., and it would make it the 32nd largest company in the US. That's more than 3 Ubers, 3 Teslas, and 1.5 PayPals.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Holy smokes.
I know. It's
all
nuts.
Over little earbuds.
Everywhere. Dame, you saw all the whole thing. People are freaking out about the Peloton commercial.
I did.
Did you watch the Peloton commercial that everyone's flipping out about?
I watched it for the first time today.
Okay, so give me your reaction.
Man, see it now. It's my turn for email. Send all email to ask. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't get all that tuned up about it.
I think we agree. I didn't care about it at all. Like zero. Did not care at all.
So
it didn't bother me.
I think that's one of these things that you see what you want to see in something. And if you read something in there that wasn't intended to be there, or in reality isn't there, and that's not Peloton's fault.
I think we're, as you might notice, there's a lot of outrage going on in our society right now. People like to get outraged about things. And that's one of those, it's like, really? You're going to get upset? It's a privilege thing. It's come on. Let's go to a better story.
Yeah. So, well, let me just add something here real quick. I saw that, and I saw the woman come upstairs and be gifted the bike, and she starts exercising, and great, fantastic. I immediately, knowing the outrage that was behind this, I immediately thought of a friend of mine that I know that was told by doctors that they have to exercise, low impact exercise, or they're going to have serious heart complications if they don't. And I thought, you know what? maybe this woman just got some kind of similar diagnosis, and the husband said, I'm going to go all out, and I'm going to give you the Cadillac, maybe that's not the best term anymore, of of exercise bikes.
You see the Buick Regals going away?
What?
I saw that today.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's a rebadged Opel product from Europe at this point. So
I'm talking about how we should not be outraged, and yet every time I'm getting off an airplane and people take a really long time to grab their baggage,
outraged.
I first look to make sure that they seem fully capable of doing it before I get mad at that particular person. And I said this to a person once, and they were like, and there's a term for like a hidden disability or something like that. And they're like, they could have a hidden disability. And I'm like, and then they made me feel bad. And I'm like, man, you can't be mad at anything anymore. See, Dame?
Where's
Peloton lady had a hidden disability.
Exactly.
Okay, this is a good story. The best cookies you can buy in a store ranked.
You have my attention.
All right. Number 10 on the list is a Nilla wafer. I like a Nilla wafer.
Yeah.
Do you? Like with banana pudding?
Solid choice.
Number 9 is the Biscoff Delta, Airlines serves them. They're loosely ginger cookies. Number 8, famous Amos. That came out wrong. Famous Amos with an M. Famous Amos. I'll tell you this, Dame. I think that needs to go up the list. We keep them at the Your Moneyline headquarters, and they're delicious. Tate's, though, at number 7. Tate's are delicious.
I don't know if I've ever had one.
They come in a dark green little sack, and you can go through them quick. Number 6, Pillsbury ready-to-bake sugar cookies. I used to love those. I've sort of faded on my love for them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those.
Number 5, Keebler Chips Deluxe Rainbow Cookies. I'm not sure if I know what that is.
No idea.
Number 4 is the Pepperidge Farm Milano. Classic.
I, for a long time, got a package of those for Christmas every year from my mom.
Number 3 is the Keebler Fudge Stripe. I don't know, man. I'm going to hard disagree on that one.
You know what? I didn't see the plus in those for a long time, but I had one fairly recently. I was like, this is not half bad. I don't know if was it number 3?
Yeah, number 3.
I don't know if it's number 3, but it's not a bad cookie.
Number 2, the Loft House Frosted Sugar Cookie. I don't know if I know what that is.
Those are delicious. They come in a plastic case that you can buy. If you've been to any kind of sporting event where parents bring stuff in, you've probably had one.
Okay. And number 1 is Oreo. I'll tell you this. So we shop at Trader Joe's, and so they've got knockoff products. Like their Oreos are called JoJo's. And there's a peppermint, like a candied peppermint JoJo. Damian, I don't know what I would do. I'd boss around a realtor to get one of those. Like, they're delicious.
Wow. I don't know.
Oreos are great.
I love my Oreos. I'm full confession, the golden double stuffed Oreos are my favorite, but
golden Oreo. I've never had a golden Oreo.
What? Oh my gosh.
No, is it like I don't know. I wouldn't be into that.
Oh man.
A Nutter Butter wasn't on this list.
That's true. That wasn't.
My dad would be angry if he was listening around. He loves Nutter Butters. My dad, like, I don't know how many times I've seen the words Nutter Butter flow out of my dad's mouth because he loves them.
Good thing he's not one of our 5 listeners.
I know. He'll never hear this. But anyway, his friends will tell him how privileged I am about the service people we hire. Okay. What a weird show. Thank you, Jacksonville. Dame, thank you for your friendship and sticking through whatever I've got going. Show's over. Sending good vibes are all that I've got in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is The Weird Show.